I didn't move to Cedar Ridge for the neighbors. I came for the quiet, the kind you only find when the hum of traffic fades and the city's glow is just a memory. My house, a single story with a broad porch and a yard that sloped into a cluster of ponderosa pines, sat at the edge of the development. Beyond the trees, a gravel road twisted through the ridge, barely noticeable to most. But I saw it every time I stepped onto my deck. It snaked between the pines, a jagged scar on the landscape, impossible to ignore. I'd driven fire engines down roads like that too many times to count, saving lives and, once, losing a friend I never mentioned. The gravel, the curve, the sharp drop into the canyon, it was a fire access road, built decades ago by engineers who knew the land's dangers. It wasn't pretty, no lights or fancy pavers, just raw utility. The kind of ugly that keeps people alive. When the HOA president, Margaret Hale, swept up to my door with a welcome packet, all crisp blouses and polished smiles, I kept my words short. She glanced at the road from my yard and sked. Such a shame, that eyesore. We're planning a wildflower border to soften it. I shook my head. Don't. She blinked, her smile flickering. It's a fire access road, I said, gesturing with my coffee mug. Block it, and you cut off the only escape if the canyon burns. She laughed, a tight sound. Oh, our landscaping team would work around that. Besides, the main road's fine for emergencies. I didn't argue. Didn't tell her I'd been a fire chief for 25 years. Didn't mention I'd helped map that road after the '97 blaze, or that I had the original city plans proving its protected status. I just wanted peace, to let my ghosts settle. But that road kept pulling at me, like a splinter under skin. I started noticing things. An HOA newsletter about perimeter enhancements. A meeting note calling the road redundant. Redundant. The word gnawed at me. One spring evening, I walked the road's full length. Overgrown in spots, sure, with brush creeping over the edges and a bit of erosion, but it was still passable. Vital. It led from my ridge to a secondary route that hit County Road 12. If the main road got blocked, a wreck, a fallen tree, or worse, this was the way out. I emailed the HOA, attaching maps, photos, even old fire season archives. No reply. I followed up. Silence. Then the spring newsletter arrived, glossy and smug, with a rendering of a beautification zone featuring native plants and stone features right where the road ran. My chest tightened, the old pre-fire briefing tension. I showed up at the next HOA meeting, held in a community center with flickering lights and folding chairs. Margaret ran the show, all charm and deflection. I waded through talks of mailbox colors and holiday lights, then stood. I'm Jack Tanner, retired fire chief, Lot 52, I said, opening my folder. I laid out fire risk data, federal egress rules, the road's legal status. Handed out highlighted pages. A few board members listened. One looked worried. Margaret just smiled. Thank you for your passion, Mr. Tanner, she said, voice dripping with condescension. But our landscaping team assures us this enhances safety and property values. I kept my tone steady. Property values won't matter if people can't get out alive. The room stilled. She leaned forward. We'll rely on the main road, Mr. Tanner. A few flowers won't start a fire. That wasn't my point, and she knew it. I left before the vote. Her eyes said I wasn't welcome in her plan. By summer, the road vanished from HOA maps. Not physically, the gravel still baked under the sun, but to them, it was just an old trail, an annoyance between million-dollar homes and their curated lawns. Signs went up, Cedar Ridge Pride, green script on fake wood. Then came the crews. I thought they were trimming brush at first, but they were clearing space for boulders. Who hired you? I called out, coffee in hand. A young worker glanced up. HOA. Privacy rocks, decorative wall. I didn't argue with him. He was just a kid. But I emailed the HOA, the city zoning office, the fire marshal. Attached photos, ordinances, everything. The zoning office replied, we'll review. Meanwhile, the boulders arrived, 2-ton monsters offloaded by a backhoe that tore up the slope. They formed a staggered barrier, just wide enough to claim it wasn't a blockade. No fire truck could pass. Then Ellen Price knocked on my door. A sharp-eyed board member in her 60s, she cut to the chase. You're right about the road, she said. But Margaret wants control of the perimeter. They're planning a private garden path, a nature sanctuary to boost the neighborhood's brand. I stared. They're blocking an escape route for a walking trail? She shrugged. Politics. They think fires won't reach us. They will, I said. She nodded, weary. I know, but they won't care until it burns. The HOA's next move was a fence. Concrete posts, rebar cores, triple wound wire, a padlocked gate. No emergency access, no signage, just a steel line severing the road. I documented it all: photos, measurements, GPS tags. Sent it to the fire marshal, city council, even local reporters. No response. Then a letter appeared in my mailbox. No stamp, no signature. Cease your interference or face legal action. Intimidation, plain and simple. I kept going. Borrowed a drone, filmed the barrier from above, posted it online. The video hit 10,000 views in days. Neighbors started asking questions. Wasn't that an emergency road? The HOA called it perimeter stabilization. Lies. The July morning it happened, the sky was blood orange, the air thick with pine dust. I was in my garden when I saw the smoke, a gray smudge on the northern ridge. Through binoculars, it was no campfire, oily, billowing wildfire. My radio crackled. Ignition near mile marker 108. Rapid spread, wind-driven. 5 miles away. With this fuel, it had hit us by afternoon. I texted neighbors I trusted. Fire on the ridge. Prepare to evacuate. Don't wait. The HOA's robocall came late, downplaying it. Small fire. No evacuation needed. Avoid unauthorized routes. They meant my road, the one they'd chained shut. By noon, ash fell like snow. The main road was gridlocked. A two-car crash at the turn. People abandoned vehicles, running uphill in panic. I grabbed bolt cutters from my Jeep and sprinted to the fence. Neighbors followed, desperate. The lock snapped. We tore at rocks, cleared a path just wide enough for people, strollers, the elderly. Smoke choked the air, sirens wailed, and the fire roared closer, a 50-foot orange wall. I counted 72 people as they passed: kids, seniors, a woman in labor, a boy clutching a hamster cage. Margaret was there, stumbling, her blouse scorched, her eyes wild. I didn't stop for her judgment. I grabbed her arm, pulled her along. Move, I shouted, guiding them down the gravel trail I'd walked 100 times, every bend burned into memory. Halfway down, the fire crested the ridge, sparks swirling like fireflies. Trees ignited. Keep going, I yelled, as we tore through a half-built fence, wire and rebar ripped free. The trail opened to County Road 12, fire trucks flashing in the distance. Paramedics rushed forward with oxygen, blankets. People collapsed, wept, stared at the smoke. I handed Margaret to an EMT and stepped back, hands raw, lungs burning. She looked at me, silent, her polished facade gone. That silence was louder than any apology. The next morning, in the emergency shelter, I sipped bitter coffee, watching Margaret sit alone, staring at the floor. A fire inspector called, 70% contained. Your road saved over 70 people. No fatalities. Relief didn't come. The HOA's barriers, fence, posts, padlock lay melted, twisted by the fire I'd torn through first. Ellen found me on the ridge later, clipboard in hand. Margaret's out, she said. The city's investigating. The road's protected now. I picked up a blackened wire. This should never have been here. She nodded. It shouldn't take a fire to make people listen. Cedar Ridge changed. The road, now Ridge Trail, got signs, solar lights, emergency call boxes. The HOA, under Ellen's leadership, drilled for evacuations, held fire workshops. Lawsuits hit the old board: negligence, zoning fraud. I joined the Volunteer Fire Council, advising, teaching. One winter evening, a handwritten note arrived. You were right. Thank you, MH. I tucked it away with my old maps. At the trailhead, I set a bench under an oak, a plaque reading, for those who watch and wait. I sit there most nights, coffee in hand, watching the pines regrow, knowing the fire will come again. But now, we're ready.